Hey guys, it's April with Crafting with April. Monday's live is about making rosettes and tips and tricks. However, I cannot possibly do this in a live session. So our live session is mainly going to be about tips and tricks and things that I learned while doing this project. And then this video will be just about how I put it together, and from that point you guys can do yours. I started with the chipboard. It's a heavyweight chipboard from Cricut, and in the file I duplicated the chipboard and made one of cardstock mirrored so that I could lay that over the back, because I have a glass door and you can see the back, so I wanted it to be kind of pretty. And then I put the ring on the top. That's in the file. It's of cardstock as well. And then my 4th of July decorations, I used a vinyl to do those with. And I used the matte foil, silver and gold, and then I used the red and blue in the, let's see which sampler pack that was. That was out of the, and this is the old vinyl. This is not the new. This was from the home sampler. I keep that in the end of my rolls so I know what vinyl I have. I just fold it up and put it in the end of the tubes. So I've gotten that far. And also I started with a couple of ribbons. And as you can notice, they're bright white compared to the cardstock that I used, which was the Vintage Nation from Paper Studio at Hobby Lobby. And this cut perfectly fine. I used a 40% off coupon. If you get it for the when they have the 50% off sale, $10 is not bad for this stack. And it's going to make beautiful rosettes. That being said, after you've gotten your wreath base ready, and if you don't want to cut this, or if you have an Explorer, you can cut this out of cereal box if you have enough of them that's enough thickness. You're just going to layer 2 or 3, and if there's a crease where the box is folded, just alternate it on the ring part. You can't do that with the 4th of July, of course, but there is a ring in there. All you have to do is duplicate it and cut it out of whatever material you need. They also sell just the basic flat chipboard type wreaths at your hobby store. I am debating, you can also get one of those from the hobby store and then something like this to go in your center, and you can hot glue that down or whatever you need to do across the middle. I'm thinking that this is going to be at the top of mine for my hanger, with my hanger. That being said, my ribbon was stark white and it just didn't match that vintage. So I I tea stained it. I took my ribbon and I soaked it in strong tea and got that off-white color that looks more vintage and matches my paper a little bit better. So you can do that too. But it was 2 different ribbons, and to make it one ribbon so that I could have some color and make it pop a little bit more to look more vintage, I used Thermoweb, the Heat Bond Thermoweb hem. And you can get this at your craft stores. You can also get it on Amazon. I'll leave links below. This one was 3/4 of an inch. I really needed 1/2 inch wide or 1/4 inch wide, so I just cut it down the middle. It was a little bit of a pain. If you have the right size, it'll go very smooth. And I just adhered the 2 ribbons together, silk setting with your iron, and I just ran it down the center and did that. At this point, you want to loop this in, and you don't have to make your hanger yet, and I'm not going to. But when you start to put your rosettes on, you'll need to have this looped in. And if you want to hot glue it down right at the center or whatever, and just leave it loose for the time being, because I plan on putting a knot here on mine, and then leaving a bit for the hanger and doing a bow. So that's the way I plan on it. Whether or not that's what will happen, we'll see. Because I haven't done this before, and we're going to figure it out as we go. So that's the way you want to do this. And like I said, you don't have to adhere it yet, but you want to have it in place before you start putting your rosettes on. That being said, I have all of my rosettes folded. And the next thing I'm going to do, and there are 8 different patterns. I cut one extra because I didn't feel like I had enough blue in there. So I cut one more thing of blue. So I have one sitting over here to the side in case I need it. But you have 8 patterns or 8 colors, however you want to look at it. And there's 2 sheets of each to make 4 rosettes in each size of the color. And what I mean by that, there is a large, a medium, a small, and an extra small rosette. There are 4 different sizes, and the way that I have the file set up, it will cut, each pattern will cut one of each size, the way that it's set, so that you have a good array and you can mix and match, and you'll see later on, that way you have every size in every color that you cut. So what you want to do at this point is you want to get your sizes together and make sure that you have them all lined up and put together. That was a different size. There's 6 pieces to each rosette, not counting the circles. So you'll want to get all 6 of that size together. 2. I think those are all the right size. Yep, that looks right. Yep. And what you're going to do after you've got them all folded, and it was a valley at the tab, and then each one of the little peaks were mountains, and each of the little indentations were a valley, all the way through. I just folded everything before I started this. And then you're going to glue the end of one into the valley of that tab. And you're going to glue all 6 pieces together. Once you have all 6 pieces together, you are going to glue the end, making a complete circle. Make sure that you glue them all with your peaks facing the same way. And then you can set that to the side, because after you've got all of these glued and ready, then we're going to come back and do the tips and tricks on actually closing in the rosette and putting on the disc that hold them together. And I'm thinking I may mix and match mine for my rosettes, putting a different pattern, like I may put a blue pattern on this one, just different stuff, however you want to do yours. But you're going to end up with your rosettes, and this has got glue all over it because I did some practicing. But you're going to end up with some rosettes like this, and it has a disc on the bottom and on the top. But get everything glued together, and then we'll come back and we'll finish this step, pulling it in and putting these on, because I have some tips and tricks to show you on that. So go ahead and glue everything, and I'll meet you back here. Okay guys, this is the way I decided to do my ribbon. I first tied my bow. I looped it, folded it in half, and tied my bow at the top. And then I tied a knot at the base, giving me a place for hanging, just so you can see that. And then I tied the tails around and tied a knot into, let me get rid of this so we don't need this anymore. I tied that little knot here because my rosettes are going to cover all of this. I haven't decided if I want to loop some of this ribbon through the rosettes yet or not, so I have not cut these tails off. If you're not going to do that, you can cut those off. They're going to be hot glued down and everything anyway. I have all of my bands glued together, and now I'm going to go through and start making the rosettes with the little buttons on them. So let me get my hot glue gun heated up. I just wanted to show you guys how I did my ribbon. I'm going to set that to the side. I am going to glue all of my rosettes prior to putting them on there. That way I have variety and I can arrange them like I want. One of the little tips that I have for you guys while the glue gun is heating up is you're going to gather all of these rosettes up to the center like this. And this is where the hard part comes in for a lot of people. So what I have done is I've gotten various different shapes of lids to help me. This was a styrofoam cup. I cut the top off of one. This is the bottom out of it to the width that I needed for my different size rosettes. And I even have a cookie cutter that works perfectly for holding the bigger ones. So it won't work with some of the smaller ones because it expands too far. But it will help. You can still get it to help hold it like this for you. And I am using a Teflon sheet under mine. And what I'm going to do is, this one is just too small for this one. Let me show you a big one so that you can get prepared to do yours. This is a larger one. I'm just going to scoot that out of the way. And, of course, this is the part of rosettes that a lot of people don't like. I did try to make that file smaller by because there's 6 pieces to each rosette, not counting the circles on the top. I tried to shorten it with the small ones and changing them down to 2 pieces each and just making them longer, but it took 3 sheets of each one of your pattern papers. So I decided it was better to just glue a few extra pieces together than it was to waste another sheet of paper, because it would take 3 sheets per pattern that way. But what I'm going to do is I've just got this loosely in here, and it should stay. You might need to put something on the top of it just to hold it down while you do this. And this is the way that I am doing mine. And I think my hot glue is heated up enough now. We're about to find out. And I am just going to drop some of the hot glue right down into the center. I'm trying to feed a new glue stick in there too. Just right down in there. And you can get a good amount, because it's going to, oops, you don't want to do that. It's going to take a few minutes for it to dry. Of course, always on camera, right? Was working perfectly earlier. And I've got one stuck down there. There we go. Come back up here. But we're just going to, there we go. Once you've got it in there, don't let that happen to you if you can avoid it. And then you're just going to bring them in tighter together as that dries. I'm just going to get rid of my ring now because I don't need it. I just wanted it to hold while I got my glue. And I'm just pulling that up. And you see I got enough glue and it's squishing right up to the top. And I'm just going to hold it. And it's, oops, I'm glad I'm using low temp because I stuck my finger in it. It should be okay. I tried using wet glue and it just kind of made a mess. This one, I think, was wet glue on the bottom and then I switched to hot glue. This one was all wet glue, but you can see all the wet glue where it kept bouncing out. And I mean, you can clean that up and still do it that way. But I found that it took just as long for that to dry as it does for the hot glue to harden up. And I found that the hot glue kind of took quicker as far as holding everything in place. I mean, you still want to hold it, but I could probably let go of this now. It's trying to stretch out a little bit, but I'm just going to keep it pushed together just slightly. And I did use my wet glue to glue all of my pieces together. And I have a mountain. I don't know while that's drying. I mean, I have a mountain of paper here. Just tons of these strips. like I said, I did cut one extra from what's in the file, so I only have 4 rosettes more than what you may have unless you cut an extra as well. But I was considering doing different buttons on mine throughout, and I think that's what I'm going to do. It's just kind of, this is the medium one, so I guess like a medium. And I don't even know that I will need them for the back of mine because they're all going to be on. And you can see how it just leaked through, and that just held it. And it won't stick to your Teflon sheet, so that's hardened up pretty good. I do think that is, let's see, that one came out to 4 inches, so that is my next to large size. So there's the button for that. Just wanted to make sure I was grabbing the right size, and I wasn't. But I think that I am going to not put one on the back. That way I have an extra button for each one of mine, and I can mix and match and double layer on the front. So I think that's what I'm going to do. You can do yours any way that you want to do them. Now that's the same size. Let's see if I can find one that I like. There we go. I have them all in a bucket here. So I think I'm going to do this one on there, just to kind of break up the paper a little bit. I did not use any solid papers in mine. I wanted to do all patterns, but of course you can do it any way that you want for yours. I'm just putting a little hot glue on the back of that. I'm going to press it down. That was not quite center, but you get it. But that's a little quick tip. Things that you can use: jar lids, cookie cutters, a styrofoam cup. If you can get the bigger cups, of course you can make the bigger rings, but this will work for all the different sizes that you have. And like I said, I just cut a cup, something just enough to hold it, because trying to hold it and get the hot glue in there all at the same time was kind of tedious. But work with it, get your rosettes made, and we'll come back and we'll put them all on the wreath. And let's just show one more time. Let's do another one here. And make sure, you guys, I forgot to tell you a little tip here. Wherever you have yours glued, you need to recrease that, because that's what's going to cause a lot of your rosettes to be jumping up and giving you an issue like that right there. Most of the time when it does that, it is a seam or it doesn't have a good fold on it. So I'm just going to scrunch it up, get it in a thing, and just hold it with my hand. And I'm just holding it with one hand and then sliding the ring back over it to get it to sit in there. And then again, the weight of just that ring over it is enough. Let me pick that up and get it on my Teflon sheet. And that gives it room to kind of spread out as well. And then just, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 squirts on these large ones. These are the large ones of hot glue. And just let it sit for a second. I've been picking out my medallions, and I'm probably, because I'm doing mine this way, going to have to probably cut some more of the smaller circles, and that's fine with me. You can cut some extra before you do it, because it's made to have a certain size on the big ones and the smaller ones, etc. But I'm mix and matching mine with different sizes, so you may want to cut some extra circles if you're going to do that too, because I know when I get down to the end. And you may even want to do like a smaller center one on here, like that, just to pop them up a little bit. And you can do that with any circle punch, or you can just cut some extra ones. but I just put mine together, whatever I'm going to put on that, with just a dot of hot glue. Give it time to sit for a minute, kind of cool down. And then I'm just going to lightly or gently remove. And it's okay if it spreads out a little bit. You can catch it. And then just scrunch it up like so. Get that glue to squish up through the center. And then I place my medallion on that. That way I don't need to use any more glue. And I just hold it for a minute. And if you let go and it spreads out just a little, that's okay. You're just letting the rosette relax a little bit. But as long as it's holding its shape and it's not going out into an oval, you're good. And when you're doing this, the way that this rosette's designed with the little points, they're going to get bent. But you can come back through and pull those out as you put them on your wreath if it bothers you. It really doesn't bother me. They're going to get bent up as it gets used anyway. And I am not putting a medallion on the back. I will have some extra of the larger medallions, but I see no point unless they're hanging off my wreath and can be seen from the back. So I am holding my extra ones because of the way I'm doing it. I'm going to have extra on those large ones in case they hang over the back side of my wreath. Like I said previously, my door is glass, so and the back of this paper is all white, which doesn't bother me. So, but I don't want that hot glue showing, so I'll probably cover those with a medallion if any of them show from the back side of my wreath. So that was just a little tip. And you can tell when it's ready to pull off of here. If you feel this back here and it's still really warm, just give it a minute. If it's cool to your touch, even though that is really still soft in the center, it's still hardening up, you're good to go. You can pull that off of there and let it sit. I'm just putting them in a bucket, and I'm just letting them sit level. I'm not mashing them together or anything like that. I'm just sitting it down in there and letting it rest and harden up the rest of the way so that I can move on to another. You're going to need your glue gun ready. You're going to have extra sticks. I use the little rope type or either the extra longs. But just have your glue sticks ready. You may have to wait a few minutes in between anyway while your glue stick heats up for the next one. So it's going pretty quickly. The longest part it took on this whole wreath was actually folding these and gluing them together. Folding them went pretty quick, but the gluing together, the 6 pieces for each rosette, that was a little time consuming, but it wasn't really bad. So just a few tips. I'm going to finish putting these rosettes together and we'll come back and put them on the wreath. I know I said that earlier, but I had forgotten about that tip about it being warm, because if you pull it too warm, it's not going to hold. It's going to stretch it back out and you're going to have to re-glue it. So that was I just wanted to come back and tell you guys that really quick. Okay guys, I have finished gluing all of my rosettes on. They probably may still be a little bit warm, but there are a ton of rosettes, as you know. You could probably get by with half of them. I had enough for this small of a chipboard that I just did the back too. And I'm loving how it came out. It's going to be hard for me to get you a good picture, but when this is hanging up with this vintage paper, it looks like fireworks, like little miniature fireworks, to me anyway. And I achieved the look that I was going for because I have an old craftsman style house and I wanted something that looked vintage from the ribbon. Like I said, I tea stained that to give me that old look. And I'm really happy with the way that this came out. So you're just going to layer your rosettes all the way around in just random order. I've got small ones stuck everywhere, and I didn't like it because, as you can see, let me see if I can get some that you can see. On the edges, because I didn't use a double-sided paper, it was white at the back. I did end up cutting some extra circles and covering each and every one of them. That way, if they showed, it didn't matter. But I really am happy with the way it came out. I'm just going to say, get the front like you want it, And then when you put these back ones on, make sure before you stick them down that you can't see the white paper if you did not use a double-sided from the other side. And I think I achieved that. I covered that and covered the back. I'm okay with the back having some of the white showing like here from the other, but you don't want that on the front. Maybe you do. It's all up to you what look you're going for, but I'm really happy with the way that that turned out, and I hope you guys enjoy the file. Please give me a thumbs up on the video. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have subscribed to the YouTube channel and you're not a member of our Facebook groups, come on over and join the Facebook groups, Cricut Crafting with April and Cricut Maker Projects. Also, Cards and Cuddlebugs. And if you are a Patreon supporter, I thank you. And if you have not yet supported me on Patreon, please come over and support me. You can support me for as little as $1 a month, and you can cancel that at any time. You guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for supporting me, and you have a happy 4th of July.